What is up, everyone? Brandon First, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Welcome, everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome into another edition of the NFL Weekly, Week 11, as we get you ready for the weekend ahead here in the NFL. Plenty to get to. The NFL the last few weeks has been a bit of a just throw a dart at a dartboard, see what comes up. It's been absolutely crazy of late, but to help me break it down, as always, is my co-host, Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. How you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. I guess we're getting into the holiday season because I'm looking at my calendar and it says Thanksgiving is a week away. So there's going to be good football on that day, short weeks for some of the teams like the Las Vegas Raiders. They play on Sunday. They'll play again on Thursday. So it's getting to be crunch time. Even though there's 6-7 weeks left, it is getting to be crunch time. And I will say, I have seen the seasons where there are one or two teams that are the big shockers and like nobody expected to see this or that. But I have not seen the type of football and the type of scores like I've seen the last 3 weeks. There is just nothing real sure out there as far as, hitting 50% even, it seems, unless you're really making such a combination of bets that, I can't believe you're really making all that much point.
Yeah, you can throw an umbrella over the whole field and say, look at this ticket and it won, but how about the other 3 or 4 that are crumpled up behind you?
Right.
That's the return on investment, the big thing there. And you're right. It doesn't seem to be a whole lot of rhyme or reason for why we're seeing a lot of the things. I mean, we can go back 2 weeks ago. Jacksonville should have no business being within 10 points of Buffalo. And they beat them, hold them to 6 points. Possible MVP and Josh Allen held to 6 points. And then we have, even on Monday night, all eyes on the Rams. Bring in Von Miller, bring in Odell Beckham. Oh my gosh, look at the weapons. 10 points against and I know the weather's there, but you know what? Both teams have to play in it. It's not like the heavens opened up and it got super clear when the Niners were on offense. Everybody had to deal with it. And it really is, it's tough to break down. And I've always believed that the NFL is the toughest sport to bet. Just straight up. I don't think there's really another one that's close to it, but we get one chance a week essentially for a lot of these games. But we do hopefully have somewhat of an idea. And as Raider Jim said, obviously next week, when we record, it will be Thanksgiving Eve. A nice little, I think that's kind of when a lot of teams, I remember, I think it was Mike Francesca, the old New York kind of radio guy, who used to say that the season doesn't start until after Thanksgiving, or at least you're not allowed to look at the standings until after Thanksgiving. So we'll look at those next week at least. But moving on to this week, of course, recording Wednesday. So tomorrow night, we'll have our Thursday night matchup. The New England Patriots at the Atlanta Falcons. The New England Patriots are 7-point favorites. The over-under is 47.5. Two teams definitely going in the opposite directions. The Patriots, I'll put my hands up and say I had Cleveland plus 2.5. That game was over with about 10 minutes left in the first quarter. In terms of that, a domination there. I had the Falcons plus 8 against the Cowboys. That wasn't even that close. So I have no idea. But anyways, two teams, as I said, moving in the wrong direction. Raider Jim, Patriots, 7-point favorites on the road. What are your thoughts?
Well, I wasn't much better than you when it came to who we picked last week, because after what Atlanta did against New Orleans, I figured they were going to go out and, make another statement against the Cowboys. Maybe not beat them, but cover the spread, no problem. So now we've got Atlanta back at home, and maybe it was a couple fluke wins in a row there for a while, and now their feet are back on the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and I don't think weather is going to be, there's only a couple games where I see rain was in the forecast. One of those is the Giants, one of those is Cleveland. So weather isn't going to be a problem, of course, but I'm going to go ahead still and take New England. I wish I would have got the opening line -4. That would have been great. But I'll still take New England -6.5 on this one. I think they will go over 47, though. I think Atlanta isn't going to be held to just 3 points again or low score.
I agree. I think the over here, we'll see it. I've been a big proponent of Mac Jones. I thought he had a really good shot to be one of the better quarterbacks in this draft. I thought it was kind of a bit of a foregone conclusion. Trevor Lawrence would at least be a lot better than he is, but right now Mac Jones is head and shoulders above the rest of the quarterback class, and maybe that is the coaching and all that stuff. But this is a team in New England that is hitting on all cylinders. They absolutely dominated last week. They're a fantastic defense as always. And for me, all signs point to the New England Patriots, and that's why I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons. I'll be honest, these Thursday night games, the last 3 weeks, I have not even only been wrong, but I've been wrong by a lot. And I know obviously last week, a lot of people were wrong when the Baltimore Ravens fell to the Miami Dolphins. A couple weeks back, it was, I expected the Seahawks to be able to put up something against, I believe it was the Rams, still didn't happen. So for me, it's a situation of going, okay, this is how I feel. It's time to flip the other side of that coin, because these Thursday night games, I just don't have a pulse for. And I don't know if I'm going to actually play the spread side of things, but if I would, like I said, I'll take Atlanta, and just for the own reason that I can't hit a game over here, at least on the spread side of things. But I do really like the over. I think we're going to see some points being scored on both sides of the ball. I think the only question will be, can Atlanta, get into the, high teens, low 20s? If that's the case, then we easily cash this, because I think the Patriots get into the low 30s. So moving on to the Sunday games. We will start in Cleveland, where the Browns are 10-point favorites against the no longer, well, I guess they are still winless. I take it back, but the still winless Detroit Lions, but they are not going to go 0-17. They will have at least one tie to their name. So I guess somewhat congratulations to them. Cleveland's 10-point favorites. The over under here is 46.5. I'll start this one off. Obviously, Cleveland last week was terrible against the New England Patriots. A lot of question marks for them. I would say decision time in Cleveland for Baker Mayfield. Seems 1 week they look like they have the franchise, then the next week they look like they need to go after someone in the first round this year. What are we going to get this week? I expect Cleveland to win this game. I know Detroit got the job done, but I do think there was a lot of, obviously the surprise was Ben Roethlisberger. I think it was COVID, or at least a very late scratch that came out of nowhere for me. I don't have the practice or the injury report in front of me. I'm not going to lie, every single week, but felt like the Ben Roethlisberger being a question mark would have jumped out. Didn't happen. And Mason Rudolph tried to go out and did what he could. And if it wasn't for a late fumble, the Lions probably lose that game, but they get the job done, and never seen a team so happy to tie. But, good for the Lions. They have something to build on. I'm going to take Detroit plus 10 here. I just don't think the Browns are 10 points better than anybody right now. And I could be wrong. And if they are 10 points better than anybody, it is probably Detroit. But until they prove otherwise, I'm not going to lay double digits on a team that I'm just not sure about. In terms of the over-under, I like the under here just because of the fact that I think you have two struggling offenses that are both defenses this entire week. Both defensive coordinators are going to be talking about all the opportunities they're going to have and what they're going to have to do. I think the defenses are going to be ready. I think we're going to see a very low-scoring game, a late field goal, maybe from Cleveland, 20-17, 17-14, something like that. But I do think Detroit covers, and I think we stay under the 46.5. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Detroit heading to Cleveland as 10-point underdogs.
Yeah, different line. I've got Vegas Insider up right now. And the current lines on Vegas Insider actually have Cleveland at -11.5.
Wow.
And like you, I'm all over Detroit at -10.
Beautiful.
I'm definitely all over Detroit at -11.5. I might even buy the half point to get, or plus 11.5. I might take the extra half point, get them plus 12. They also have the over under at 43.5.
Wow.
So I think I would go over 43 on this one as well.
Yeah.
I'm with you though. The inconsistent play of Cleveland is alarming. If you would have told me, and actually at the beginning of the season, I did not think we'd be going into week 11 and they would be 5-5. It doesn't surprise me that much with Detroit, but Detroit, they've had a couple instances. If they could have scored in overtime, if they could have scored in the fourth quarter, would have been a whole different ball game back there. But Roethlisberger or not, you got to hand it to them. They stuck in the game and they kept it close, and doggone, they just about had it happen. But I think this week they may not get the win, but to cover at 12, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Detroit, this is a horseshoe and hand grenades type scenario, but the ball bounces differently in 3 or 4 games. They could have 3 or 4 wins. This isn't a team that has been blown out in every game, things like that. Once again, it's the 66-yarder against Baltimore. Justin Tucker hitting an NFL record. That's just twisting the knife there. So moving on to San Francisco heading to Jacksonville. The Niners are 6.5-point favorites. Here, the over-under is 45.5. Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors to get us started. San Francisco at Jacksonville.
Yeah, which San Francisco team is going to show up? The one that was in San Francisco or the one we've seen several weeks before that? Jacksonville is probably going to be that same Jacksonville team. That's what I can tell you. Odds I'm looking at right now show San Francisco minus 6.5 going into this one. So they are the definite favorite, even on the road against Jacksonville, which doesn't surprise me. If they can keep it together, if they can do it again, they are 3-1 on the road so far this year. So I will take San Francisco minus 6. And then on the over-under at 45.5, I don't know that Jacksonville is going to be able to put together that many points. But then again, all we need at 45.5 is what they have right now. So 27-20, even 27-20 gets you there. So I'll take the over on that one as well.
Yeah, I agree. I like the over here as well. Jacksonville, at the very least, has improved over the last few weeks. I don't think they're a very good football team, but they're better than they were at the beginning of the year. Still things to clean up. San Francisco, you kind of brought it up. They look like a team that could go back to the Super Bowl one week, and then the next week they look like they're going to be, in the top 5 of the draft again. So you don't quite know what to get. I've always had concerns. West Coast teams going east and playing the 10 a.m. game or the 1 p.m. game, however you want to break that down. The body clock is not quite adjusted. Even if you get there, 3 or 4 days early, it's still not fully adjusted. I don't think that will matter too much here. Once again, like I said, Jacksonville is improving. But I don't think that, the body clock or the road trip is good enough to overcome the difference in talent here. San Francisco, I think, once again, as long as anything under 7 points, I think you can feel pretty confident with San Francisco winning this game and covering. The over-under as well. I think we are going to see some points being scored. Like I said, Jacksonville, at the very least, is starting to at least move the football in certain situations. And, San Francisco on the road could possibly have some struggles. And, as you said, 27-20, which will not only get us the cover, but it will get us a over as well. So I'm good with that. But moving on to another showdown in the AFC. It is the Indianapolis Colts at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are 7-point favorites. The over-under here is 50. Now, as I pull up the records for both of these teams, okay. Obviously, you have the Buffalo Bills, who are 6-3, and the Indianapolis Colts 5-5. For the Colts, it just seems as if they go with how Carson Wentz takes them, and believe me, I've been there, done that with the Eagles. But it's going to be difficult in this one. Buffalo has had their struggles of late. Obviously, I brought up the Jacksonville situation a couple weeks back. I still think Buffalo is that team. And now I think they have kind of and I hate to keep bringing up these horse racing analogies when we do this, especially with Raider Jim, because it seems like we're
We
trying
can't
to.
help it.
Yeah, I know, right? We're trying to sneak those plugs in for the original call to post, but it's a situation of they have they have a chaser now. I think in the early parts of the season, it looked like Buffalo was going to win the division. You know, if they win 12 games, they're going to win. No one's going to have more than 6 or 7. Well, guess what? The Patriots are coming. So I think that at the very least, the Bills kind of have to, get rolling now. They're not going to run this, uncontested. And they got a big home game here. Obviously, I don't think weather will be an issue, but it's not going to be balmy. I guarantee you that. It's going to be probably in the 40s, maybe even the 30s, even if it is clear. But you're going to have that Bills Mafia vibe. 7 points is a lot here. I would definitely try and bet it down to 6.5. But once again, this is a really tough one. I'm not really going to play the spread. I am going to go under on the over under though 50. I think this is more of a physical kind of grinded out football game. Obviously last week we saw, Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen do what they seem to always do. They haven't really done that in back-to-back weeks lately. They seem to kind of be a hit and miss team, a little bit inconsistent. I think they kind of take a little bit of a step back here. I like the under 50. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Buffalo 7-point favorites against the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, by far and away. I mean, you can't say that a team sitting in first place at 6-3 is a disappointment, and that's not at all what I'm trying to convey about Buffalo. But kind of surprising that they are 6-3. You take the last 4 games, they're actually 500. They're 2-2. They beat Miami by 15, but they put up 26 points. That's all they put up. They put up 45 against the Jets, gave up 17. But it's those losses. They lost to Tennessee in a tough one, and they lost 34-31. But the one that's going to stand out is when they were at Jacksonville and 6 points. That's all they got, 6 points. And Jacksonville scored 9 points. So it's kind of interesting to see the level of where they are playing right now against Indianapolis, who, they're in that already in this must-win situation at 5-5. They got to keep winning if they want to even hit into the wild card spot, lottery. So I'm going to go ahead and take Indianapolis plus 7.5. Like you, I think it's going to be under 50 though. But this is going to be interesting. Could really make more of a statement than most people would think it would be to see how Buffalo comes out and plays at home. Now, if they roll them up 45-13, 20, something like that, okay. But if they don't, fans in Buffalo, because this could be a similar situation, and we're going to get to the Chiefs, and I'm not going to, what am I going to say about the Chiefs this week? But as I said in the preseason and early on, people figured out the Chiefs. Now, if the Chiefs are doing what they can to combat that and be the Chiefs again, great. But I have a feeling people are starting to figure out the Buffalo scheme as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to see kind of the stages these teams have gone early. I mean, back when Buffalo kind of handed it to Kansas City, I think there were a lot of people who are ready to hand the trophy over and say everyone's playing for second place. Last week, it was probably the same thing with the Ravens, and they stubbed their toe. So that just kind of, once again, underscores how the NFL has been this year. 2 teams that more than likely will not be factoring into any playoff scenarios, but we do have the Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets. The Dolphins are 3-point favorites on the road. The over-under here is 45. Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors to get us started. Miami 3-point favorites at New York.
This is one of those games. I understand everybody has to play so many games a year, but it's just one of those games where if it was the only game on, I doubt I would watch it. And that's just my personal feeling on it. Now, the Dolphins are sitting at 3-7. And the Jets are sitting, I believe, at 2-7 right now. So this is really it's a battle for pride more than anything. but because they are playing in New York, Miami's at -3. I think the Jets stun everybody, and this is going to be one of those other, this will be our week 11, week 12 upset, if you want to call it that. But I see the Jets pulling this one out. Jets +3 is fine with me. Over 45, probably not. I don't see either team being the offensive juggernaut to go out there and roll it up.
Well, the reinforcements, if you will, in New York have arrived, or at least the reinforcement. It's time for Joe Flacco. That is the state of the Jets. I'll tell you what, on draft night, if you would have said week 11, Joe Flacco will be starting over Zach Wilson, I think there would be some Jets fans that would either fight you or have a meltdown. But that is the reality of the situation. Joe Flacco takes the helm. And while I just kind of talked about how frustrating and how tough that is, at the very least, I think he goes out there, is a cool head back there, can find kind of ways to maybe exploit and pick up, 17, 20 points. Will that be enough? I think it could, honestly. And I agree with you. I think the Jets, I myself personally, give me another half point just in case we do see a field goal for the Dolphins, late to win it. Give me the Jets +3.5. I agree with you on the under. I think 43, 44 points is the most we'll see out of this. This has 2017 written all over it.
Yeah.
16, 13. It's not going to, as Raider Jim said, unless you're, locked in a room, probably tied down somewhere and with the clockwork orange things where you have to keep your eyes open. I don't know how you watch this game. This is probably going to be one that I don't even think NFL Red Zone wants to put on too much, but there's an opportunity here to bet it. And I do think there is value with the Jets and the under, as we're both kind of on the same board there. So keep that in mind. So moving on to the Washington football team at the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers and their new/old/new quarterback Cam Newton are 3.5 point favorites. The over under here is 43. First and foremost, I know Carolina has a really good defense. And they're, like I said, they're a very, very good defense. But Washington, while they on paper maybe look like they have a good defense, they really don't. They just lost, unfortunately, one of my favorite players that isn't on the Eagles, but their best defensive player in Chase Young for a considerable amount of time. I think a full week of Cam Newton getting back into Cam Newton with that big chip on his shoulder, I think we easily get the over here of 43. I mean, I don't want to go as far as to say that Carolina could put up 31 by themselves, but Carolina could put up 31 by themselves. And I think they'll get it done from there. Taylor Heineke last week seems like he goes into superhuman mode when he plays Tom Brady. You don't have Tom Brady this week, but you do have Cam Newton. So once again, I really like the over 43 here. That's maybe one of the biggest, slam dunks, if you will, for this week. I'm probably regret saying that. But anyways, the Carolina Panthers, in terms of being 3.5 point favorites, I think they cover that. Washington, as good as they looked last week, I think they really got themselves there. Those are target games, right? There are certain games where teams don't need to be pumped up by the coach. They're facing Tom Brady. They're facing Patrick Mahomes. They're facing Aaron Rodgers. Certain games you don't need to be pumped up for. You're just naturally there, naturally giving your best. And now Cam Newton and the Panthers, still kind of a big stage, but not nearly Tom Brady and the defending Super Bowl champs. So I like Carolina to cover here, but I mean, once again, I am all over the over 43. Raider Jim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you on the covering the spread. Panthers covering the spread over 43, but I'll tell you why I really like the Panthers' chances in this one, not only to score a lot, but to cover the spread. Cam Newton, and you got to hand it to him. Fantastic game. What stands out to me is Christian McCaffrey got 161 yards of total offense, completely overshadowed. And if he's back and you add Newton into the mix, well, you got a different Panther team that you did weeks 1 through 5. And now these guys are going to make that last ditch sprint to see what they can do. Can we set ourselves up for the wild card? Can we make a run at first place? Whatever the case may be, watch out, everybody, because this is going to be a different Panther team the last 7 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I think I think it was his first play of the game that he got in. He runs Cam Newton being him, runs it in for a touchdown and very emphatically takes the 15-yard penalty for taking his helmet off, but very emphatically, let us all know that Cam Newton is back. And, good for him. I've had that bit, there have been a lot of people that said, oh, he should have never been cut by New England. And I've always said my theory is your backup quarterback cannot be more popular than your starting quarterback. So if they believe Mac Jones is the better option, they had to cut Cam Newton. And I believe so far it's working out for him, but that's neither here nor there. It's a situation now. Cam Newton returning home to Carolina. I saw something. The Panthers are paying Cam Newton's backup to play somewhere else in Teddy Bridgewater. They're then paying Cam Newton's replacement in Sam Darnold, and now they're also paying Cam Newton. So all there, a little bit of poking fun there at the Panthers, but they have to feel good about where they are, and hopefully for their sake, they can get a win against Washington and cover the spread for our sake. But moving on to AFC versus NFC North matchup. It is the Baltimore Ravens at the Chicago Bears. Baltimore Ravens -6. The over-under here is 45. Obviously, last week it's been, 3 or 4 extra days since we saw it, but Baltimore with one of the more puzzling losses in recent memory, losing to Miami after really coming in on an absolute high, beating. I mean, not just beating up on some bad teams, but they were beating up on the upper echelon of the AFC and NFC. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? The Baltimore Ravens heading to Chicago as 6-point favorites with the over-under 45.
Well, throwing away the playbook that I usually use and looking at what it's been the last 2 or 3 weeks, boy, it's hard for me to not look at it and say, here it is, there it is. Watch the Bears in Chicago. And I don't see that there's going to be any weather. Hard to believe this close to Thanksgiving. There's no rain, there's no snow, there's no nothing. But wow, Baltimore -5, meaning you could buy that point, take the Bears +6. The over/under 45. This is a hard one to call. And it's a hard one to call because, again, like we said about which 49er team is going to show up, which Baltimore team is going to show up. To not cover the spread against the Dolphins was not on my radar. To lose to the Dolphins and lose by 12 and only put up 1 touchdown in the fourth quarter. So Dolphins figured out how to do something. How well are the coordinators for Chicago looking at that? Does Khalil Mack have one more great game left in him where he rallies the defense and says, we can shut this guy down? And I have a feeling he does. So I will take the Bears +6 on this one, and I'll go under 45.5.
I like that. I like the under as well because I'm with you on the spread side of things too. Look, to shut down most, even the Bradys and the Mannings, when Peyton was still there was always kind of one formula: get pressure in his face, pressure in his face, pressure in his face. Easier said than done, no doubt about it, especially Peyton Manning, who seemed to move players all over to be in the right spot pre-snap. With Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray and some of these running quarterbacks, blitzing isn't enough. It's smart blitzing, because you can blitz him all you want. But I tell you what, if he gets by one of your guys, you're giving up 25, 30 yards because you lose contain, and those DBs that are running, even if they're in zone, they're going to be flat-footed, things like that. And if they're playing man, their backs to Kyler or in this case, Lamar running down the field. So I think really it's going to be a factor. And I think the Bears are a team that, Khalil Mack, obviously a fantastic football player, but I think he's smart too. He's not the young 22-year-old who's just seeing red, get to the ball. He's a guy who goes, you know what? If I have to stay at home and quarterback spy at the line of scrimmage and force Lamar to throw the ball out of bounds, throw the ball into a tough spot, things like that. I think that's how you have to beat Lamar Jackson. It's not enough to just blitz. We saw that last week. Miami is a heavy blitzing team, but the way they did it, I think, was very smart. They kept him in the pocket, and it wasn't pressure on him. It was pressure from where he likes to go. They kept him in the pocket, if that makes sense. They didn't want him to go anywhere else. They almost didn't rush him. They kind of let him stay in that little pocket and said, hey, go from there. And it didn't really work. So if Chicago can do that now, at the same time, Baltimore has had 3 or 4 extra days to go, okay, how can we make this counteract that? It's the chess match of it, no doubt about it. But like you said, I really do think Chicago probably by that extra half point to get it to 6.5, but Chicago plus 6.5. I really, really do like that. But moving on to a game that myself and I know Coach will be glued to the TV as well. Wasn't available today. I mean, I'd love to say he's scared of, what he saw it Mile High with the Eagles dismantling the Broncos, but I don't think that was the case at all. But for this one, the Eagles actually here are 1.5 point favorites. The over under here is 43.5. New Orleans at Philadelphia, obviously. And it's the last 2 weeks in Philadelphia. Once again, it's been very ironic because when the Eagles finally started to run the ball, unfortunately, they lost Miles Sanders. And I think all Eagles fans thought, now this is validation for Nick Sirianni to say, well, this is why I'm not running the ball. And to his credit, he's stuck with the run. He's somewhat revitalized the career of Jordan Howard. Boston Scott looks like a little mini Darren Sproles, poor man Darren Sproles back there. And Devonta Smith through the air and Jalen Hurts have seemed to link up. Things are looking good. However, there have been a lot of times things are looking good, and then the Eagles go out and lay an egg, most notably against the Cowboys, when they just were absolutely dismantled on national TV. This is a tough one. This is a tough game. I think a lot of people are down on New Orleans for possibly a good reason. Obviously, there's a lot of question marks as to who is going to be throwing the football for them. Obviously, it won't be Jameis Winston out for the year. But the thing with the Eagles, and I mean, I don't have it in front of me, and maybe I should have looked it up, but this team has still yet to win at home. They are 0-4 at home. And it's not the easiest place to play in those situations, obviously. So for the Eagles, I think there is added pressure on that. And as much as I'd like to see it, I just have to go with New Orleans here. I think New Orleans is the better team. I know they have a lot of quarterback issues, but the Eagles are going to struggle, I believe, offensively against a good Saints defense. I really do think they're going to struggle. I hate to say it, but I think there's a little bit of complacency in that locker room because everyone just kind of figures, okay, now we're going to finally get it figured out. I will take the Saints, probably go with the money line here, plus 1.5. I guess if you think it's going to be a 31-30 game, then, and the Eagles win, that's great. In terms of the over under, I like the over here though. 43.5, I think is a little low. I do think, when you get 24-21, that gets you over. I think that's kind of where we're at, 26-23, something like that. But I do like the over 43.5. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? The Saints 1.5 point underdogs at Philadelphia.
Well, I came on here last week and tongue in cheek, I said, is it irony that on October 3rd, the next NFL podcast we did, October 3rd was when the Giants beat the Saints. That following Wednesday, Coach was unavailable. And so tongue in cheek, I said last week that, how do you like that? Atlanta beat the Saints and Coach is unavailable. Well, lo and behold, Tennessee takes down the Saints last week, and knock, knock, who's there? Not Coach. So, and now I believe it's not just the loss to Tennessee. He does not want to face Brandon Ferst, who is going to tell you, no matter what he says, he believes in his heart that the Eagles are going to soar this week, and so do I. Give me the Eagles.
I like it.
Either the money line or -2, and give me the over at 43.5. It's going to be the first home victory for the Eagles, and it's going to be a happy Thanksgiving. And Coach hates me by now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. Obviously, you want to see everybody healthy, but that won't be the case for the Saints. It's definitely a different Saints team now that Drew has moved on. I think they're more of kind of that defense grinded out type game. It's going to be very, very interesting. And the Eagles have just struggled against those really strong defenses this year.
But again, what you're saying about New Orleans, they are still competitive, and they are truly in that rebuilding phase.
Yeah.
You know, some teams have that, and rebuilding, like the Raiders, it lasts for 20 years. I don't think it's going to be 20 years for the Saints. They're doing everything they can this year.
Yeah, definitely. Still 5-4. You know, even if they lose, definitely still have a shot at the playoffs. But it's not going to be the usual 12-4, 13-3, and we probably won't see a home game at the Superdome unless they win and kind of get rolling. But moving on to, let's see, where am I? Here I am. Houston at Tennessee. The Tennessee Titans are not only the best, tied for the best record in all of football, but they have a pretty easy schedule from here on out. 364, I believe, is the remaining winning percentage of Tennessee's opponents, and it starts this week as they host the Houston Texans. The Titans are 10-point favorites. The over-under here is 44.5. Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Tennessee hosting Houston in an AFC South matchup.
Yeah, Houston has certainly been dealt a great hand for the second half of this season. At home, they're 4-1 at home right now. -10. You know me and my double-digit dogs and all that good stuff, or double-digit favorites for that matter. But it's Houston, so I think Tennessee can cover. I might get a point or a half point to take it just under 10. But to go over 44.5, my concern is, what's Houston going to put up on the board? Maybe they'll put together that one game and, you know, get 2 or 3 touchdowns, but I don't really see that happening. 44.5, we'd have to go 24-20, 24-7. You know, just for the gamble, I would go over 44 on this one. But Tennessee's just a much stronger team all the way around, as you said, 8-2, you know, tied with Arizona. So yeah, that's good company.
Yeah, and I will say one of the biggest question marks for Tennessee is, you know, who's going to play. AJ Brown's questionable. Julio Jones has been placed on IR. Derrick Henry, unknown there. But for whatever reason, this team has still kind of been able to go out and just get the job done. As I said, 8-2. And they know that, look, if they want the AFC side of the playoffs to go through Nissan Stadium in Nashville, they're going to have to beat Houston. They have to beat teams like this, period. Now, in terms of beating them by 10, I don't think they care about that. But once again, this is a team that is far and away better than Houston, far and away more talented. I do think they do cover it. I might cut or bet myself down to 9.5 just to kind of cover yourself for maybe a backdoor cover. Another part of this, the over under, you kind of hit it on the head. What's Houston going to put up? Tennessee, the hard part with these games is if Tennessee kind of gets out to a big lead, you know, and they're up 31-0 at halftime, you know, what's the incentive for Tennessee to keep scoring? They're probably going to, you know, take their foot off the gas. Defensively, they probably won't. I'll take the under just because, like I said, I really don't like what I've seen out of Houston's offense. And, you know, I think Tennessee will do enough early and then kind of coast all the way through from then on out to keep it under. But moving on to a pivotal AFC North matchup, the Green Bay Packers are 2.5-point favorites on the road at Minnesota. The over-under here is 49, one of the bigger numbers of the weekend. But in this AFC North matchup, as I pull up my notes for it, there we are. Obviously, in Minnesota, the Vikings, this is their last gasp. They've looked really good. They've looked really bad. Last week they went to SoFi and got the job done. That was actually one of my few like winning picks last week. Was that Minnesota getting the job done? I didn't expect it to be that easy, but they did. And Green Bay, look, I've said over the last few years, nothing in the NFL is more dangerous than Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, or Drew Brees with a good defense. Well, guess what, folks? The Green Bay Packers have a very, very good defense. Shut out Russell Wilson for the first time in his Seahawk career. And in this game, obviously, look, 2.5 points on the road for Green Bay in the division. I mean, once again, you say what you want about Aaron Rodgers, but he's going to win this football game. And I think it's going to be by at least a field goal. So give me Green Bay -2.5. In terms of the over-under being 49, look, I've been critical of Kirk Cousins in the past. He's actually had a very, very good year. And Minnesota is kind of that offensive team now. They're going to try and go out and outscore you, which is so unlike a Mike Zimmer led team, but they're doing what they can. I think we go over 49 here. I think we see plenty of points being scored, but I think the Packers easily cover the 3. And yeah, like I said, I think we're going to see some points being put up in a, like I said, this is kind of for the Vikings, their last ditch effort. This is their chance to not only make up a game on the division leader, but also kind of stake their claim that, hey, we're not done just yet. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Green Bay road favorites, I should say, in Minnesota.
I heard nothing about Aaron Rodgers and COVID for the last 7 days. Isn't that interesting? And all he did was, whether you agree or disagree with his position and what he did, as a competitor and football player, you have to hand it to the guy for being able to just shut it all out and go out there and play the way he did. And it's going to happen again this week. Again, a slight discrepancy between the spreads everywhere, but on Vegas Insider, you can get Green Bay -2.5 right now. That 0.5 point is pretty good. I take Green Bay all day long on that one, and I'm with you. I think it's going to be a good offensive game. My concern would be, is it going to be a good offensive game, say 27-17? It could be that, or even 28-21, and then there we are, just stuck right at that threshold. But I think they will go over, because I think Green Bay is going to have a great offensive game. So give me Green Bay, give me the over, and wow, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be dry. They're inside.
Yep. Moving on to a game that obviously will be passing over to Raider Jim to get us started, but it is Cincinnati in Vegas to take on the Raiders. The Bengals are 1-point favorites, and the over-under here is 49.5. Raider Jim, what do you got for us?
Yeah, all the drama and the storylines have been pretty good when the Raiders have come back and fought through some of the adversity this year, and now it just seems like they are in complete disarray. They've got draft picks like Josh Jacobs, your leading rusher, their go-to guy that they insist on handing the ball to, ends up with 17 yards at the end of the game against Kansas City. If you look on the recap, it shows leading rusher for the Raiders, Derek Carr. John Abrams has been virtually absent the last few games. I mean, that was obvious by watching Tyreek Hill and Kelsey just go and do whatever they wanted to do on Monday night. It was ridiculous. I will tell you what, they're facing a dangerous Cincinnati team. 3-2 on the road, 5-4 overall. Raiders 5-4 overall, 3-2 at home. Joe Burrow is a fantastic quarterback, and he's got weapons. He's got Mixon, and the way I've seen the Raiders play the run of late, I think this one is, I would have to lean towards Cincinnati on this one. And I would like to think the over if the Raiders can get into a shootout with them, but I'd have to lean, take the Bengals on the money line on this one, quite honestly. I mean, they've got, again, Burrow is good. He's got Mixon. He's got 3 great wide receivers out there, and it only took 2 wide receivers the other night for Kansas City to do what they did, and the turnovers and the mistakes. It's just really, it's hard to watch as a Raider fan. But wow, if they play bad, as an old high school coach told me once, you know what, it's like this. You get your ass kicked. You just go out and say, well, what happened? I don't know. I got my ass kicked pretty bad. And that's all the Raiders could say this Monday in the locker room. And I'll close with this. I said it last week. It's no more acceptable. I think last week I said it's not going to be acceptable much more. Now it's just not acceptable for the Derek Carr presser after the game. Oh, it's on me and some of my errant throws. It wasn't even errant. It was like, are you kidding me? Do you not know how to throw the ball away as opposed to launch it with this huge arc? It was like, I referred to it as, I said to somebody, it's like, remember when you were a kid in the playground playing three flies up? That's what the Chiefs secondary was doing. They were playing three flies up when he would throw the ball. It was ridiculous. So again, take the Bengals, take the money, or go with money line Bengals on this one.
Yeah, I have to tend to agree. It's, I'll use a bit of a pirate ship analogy, obviously, with the Raiders. This is a team, they just got hit with two big old cannonballs. And the captain's been taken down. They need someone to grab the wheel. They haven't ran aground yet. They're not sinking, but they're in a perilous, like you said, they're in a tough spot right now. Now, I brought it up last week, the John Gruden thing. I don't think the John Gruden thing really matters after everything they've gone through. Right. I mean, it's still there. It's still the taste of, but it pales in comparison to the Henry Ruggs situation. And that's not an athletic situation. I don't think Henry Ruggs makes this team go from a top first place team in the AFC West to a middling AFC team. It's the thought. It's the fact that, that happened. Their other first round pick, I know it wasn't as egregious, but also lost his job from, I think it was a TikTok video, something, I'm not sure, with guns or weapons. Yeah. So, they're not things where, they lost these two players, now they're not any good. It's a mental side of things, and that can get tough. That can get out of hand really quickly, and that's not something Rich Bisaccia, those other coaches can get a handle on. So for the Raiders, I think collectively, this is the time for them. They all have to come together and say, look, we've been dealt a terrible hand. It's been tough for things that really haven't been in their power. But if they don't get something under control very quickly, they might not win another game. And this is a very tough one. You want to talk about speed. Kansas City has a ton of speed last week. Well, Cincinnati has a ton of speed as well, maybe even more speed, especially there at wide receiver with Jamar Chase, and obviously that tight end Uzoma, I believe, has been absolutely amazing. I agree with you. I think Cincinnati wins this game. I actually like the under here, and it's because I don't trust the Raiders offense right now because of what you just said. You're unless your name is Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, or Kyler Murray, your quarterback should not be leading your team in rushing. And if that's going to be the case for the Raiders, Derek Carr is not good enough to be a head or a leader of a one-dimensional offense. And unfortunately, that's what he is right now. And until that changes, I'm going to ride the under, because that Cincinnati defense has taken some lumps over the last few weeks, but they're still really, really good, I believe. And I think that they're kind of that wild animal that sees the lion that's maybe a little gimpy right now and thinks, you know what, this is our chance to kind of take down the Raiders in Vegas. But we'll see how that goes. I know our friend Craig Mizrak will be watching there. Who knows, might even be heading to Vegas to enjoy the festivities. But moving on to an NFC West matchup. It is the Arizona Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks. The Arizona Cardinals are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 49. First and foremost, the question mark of DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray. It was maybe a little, I guess, cocky of me to not cash out my Arizona pick. I thought, Colt McCoy is still going to get the job done over Carolina, as they did the week before, when I did cash out my Arizona pick, and that blew up in my face. But anyways, Didn't get the job done here. Now, is Kyler going to play? Is he not? I hate to put a little caveat on things, but I think that definitely changes it. If Kyler's playing, I think you definitely ride Arizona. At the same time, that's probably why it's only 2.5 right now. Seattle last week looked, I mean, probably obviously it's the first time they've ever been shut out. Maybe the worst offensive performance of Russell Wilson's career collectively. A lot of question marks there. I'm going to take Arizona here once again, -2.5, with the caveat that either DeAndre Hopkins or Kyler Murray plays. If both of them play, or if they both miss out, I'll leave this alone. Now, this is going to be tricky because once it comes out that, if, for example, if it comes out that both of them are going to be healthy and both of them are going to play, this number is probably going to get closer to 6. I know they are in Seattle. It is the 12th man and stuff like that, but the talent, I think, overscores that. So once again, I'll take Arizona -2.5 with the caveat that either Kyler or DeAndre Hopkins do play. In terms of the over-under, I'll take the under here. I got to see Seattle score some points before I'm going to do anything over, especially when we're talking about a higher level over with 49. So I'll take the under here, especially once again, if we do see a Colt McCoy or non-Kyler Murray / DeAndre Hopkins out there. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Arizona at Seattle.
Yeah, Arizona, I just looked up real quick, and apparently they have gotten good news about Murray. They say he returned to practice. So apparently the knee was good enough where they felt he could at least go out, run through some reps and see how he's doing. Hopkins, not so much. He's a question mark. Seattle is my heart goes out to the Seattle fans. This is uncharted territory for them. To see this team 1-3 at home, shut out last week, and what would normally, it's not that many seasons ago where you would have said, everybody would have sat down with their pizza, their popcorn, whatever, because wow, Russell Wilson against Aaron Rodgers, this is going to be gangbusters, and shut out. So I think that is the real statement of the story for Seattle. We need to make a concerted effort, though, to check the starting lines with Vegas Insider, because the starting line for this game, you could have got Arizona +2. I mean, they actually started the line. It opened at Seattle -2, and it's like, boy, I would have grabbed that all day long and bought another point. But even at -2.5, I'll take Arizona. And I'm with you. I think it's going to be a great game. I think there's going to be some scoring. I just don't see Seattle putting it up. Not against Arizona. Arizona is going to be in a kind of bad mood after what happened to them last week. So the defense is going to make sure they keep them in the game under 48 for sure.
Yeah, and I think the Cardinals look around now and go, look, if we handle our business, we're going to win this division. The Rams have some issues of their own. The Niners are wildly inconsistent, and then this is the Cardinals' chance to kind of put the Seahawks out of the question. I think this essentially kind of squashes the Seahawks' chances if they don't get the win here. Obviously not mathematically, but it would be very, very big uphill road to get back into the playoff picture for Seattle if they drop it here. But big showdown. AFC or NFC East versus AFC West. It's going to be the Dallas Cowboys heading to Arrowhead at Kansas City. Kansas City Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 55.5. I'll get this one started. I'm just going to start straight up. I think we see the over here. I think we're going to see a lot of points being scored here. Dallas last week was incredibly upset after the performance they put up against Denver. Kansas City themselves, this is an offense or a defense that will be able to build on what they've done the last few weeks. Now, we look at the team and, we look at the stats, and guess what? They're not very good. But this is a team that can look and say, well, the last 2 games, we've been pretty darn good. However, once again, I think this is a bit of a different animal with Dallas. I think we see a lot of points being scored. This could be a 31 or 34-31 game. A lot of fun. This is going to be, I'm really excited the Eagles play at 10 a.m. so I can watch the Dallas Kansas City game. I think it's going to be the best one of the weekend. In terms of the spread, Kansas City at home, the way they're playing, they're kind of that team that just when you think that they're down and you think that they're done, the Mahomes dynasty is done, blah, 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 they kind of get rolling again. I think Kansas City covers the 2.5. I'm not going higher than 2.5 with Kansas City because I do think this is a field goal game. But I also do like the over 55.5. I think we're going to see a lot of points being scored. It's going to be a really fun one. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Kansas City hosting Dallas.
Now, this is a fun game. This one's going to be great to watch. After what I've seen from Kansas City, or what I saw last week, they seem to be putting it together again, and they're putting it together at the right time. They're going to give Dallas everything they can handle. Dallas is 3-1 on the road this year, but they haven't played a Kansas City team. It's almost like Kansas City just, got the old Mickey slap in the face down in the Rocky movie when he just slapping him type of a thing. And, they woke up and Kelsey had a heck of a game. Tyreek Hill had a heck of a game. I'm with you. It's going to go over on this one. And much as I hate to see them increase their lead over the Raiders, I think Kansas City 2.5. Wow. Maybe I'd go money line on this one. We'll have to wait and see if the line changes at all. If it goes down to 2 or if it goes down to a pick 'em, then yeah, I'll take money line to Kansas City.
Yeah, it's going to be hopefully a very, very interesting game. Some of these, blockbuster weekend games haven't quite lived up to the expectations. So hopefully that changes here with this one. But moving to Sunday night football, it'll be at SoFi Stadium when the Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are 5-point favorites. The over-under here is 47, and I will tell you this right now before I pass it over to Raider Jim, because it is an AFC West game. This is not a Charger home game. Yes, regionally, yes. In the stands, no, not even close. It's going to be a lot of silver and black, black and yellow. A lot of
terrible
being waved. Yeah, a lot of that going on. And it's going to be all televised on national TV, NBC. But anyways, Raider Jim, this is your jurisdiction. Pittsburgh heading to Los Angeles, 5-point underdogs with the over-under being 47.
Going to be an interesting game. Chargers Vikings was one of the games that I did hit last week, and like you said earlier, well, it was the one I got right. Yeah, that's how I feel about this one. Why is this going to be interesting? For one thing, I looked up why wasn't Roethlisberger in the lineup? Why did he get pulled on Saturday? He was diagnosed with COVID. That's why he didn't play on Sunday. And what they're saying is he's not cleared to play this coming Sunday, which is very interesting. And you would think that gives Pittsburgh the nod. However, the Charger defense is now hit with Joey Bosa sitting out because he has COVID. You would think the NFL and the teams and the administrators for all the teams would get their collective stuff together and say, we can't do this. We can't put our entire seasons on the line when our frontline guys just can't play. And why would you want to put Roethlisberger, Bosa, Rodgers, anybody in a huddle, in a lineup, in a locker room? It is beyond me. But anyway, the Chargers right now, line opened at -3. Now the line is at -5.5 for the Chargers, which is puzzling because, again, they're out Bosa. And that could be if you can't pressure whoever's behind center for the Steelers, they may put it up against you. So I'll take the Steelers +6 on this one. The over-under at 47. Going to be interesting. The Steelers have to score. They're not going to shut down the Charger offense, so they've got to score. So it's going to have to be the over on that one, over 47, Steelers +6. Interesting game, and especially if you take that 6 now or take that 6 on Friday, Saturday, You may wake up Sunday and find out Roethlisberger has been cleared to play. It's not his shoulder, it's not his knee, it's not his hips, it's not his back. So as long as they say, yeah, just stick the cotton up your nose 2 times, you're good. Negatives, get your pads on and go play. You got a different game then.
Yeah, this is kind of the gambler's gamble right now. Do you
Correct.
at right now 5 points? Because I'll tell you this right now, if it comes out, 25, 30 minutes before game time that Ben Roethlisberger will play, this line will drop. This is a Mason Rudolph line right now. This is the line saying Mason Rudolph is playing. And if that's the case, look, one of the biggest, I guess, times I've been wrong plenty, believe me, but me thinking that Mason Rudolph was going to be a good quarterback. When he came out of college, I thought he was going to be a good quarterback. I got that one wrong by a lot. I'm surprised he's still in the league. I think it really speaks to Dwayne Haskins and how terrible he is that he can't even unseat Mason Rudolph for that spot. But like I said, if you do believe and you hope that Ben Roethlisberger can play and make it in time, you hammer the 5 or 5.5, whatever you can find. Myself personally, if Mason Rudolph is out there or Dwayne Haskins, for me, I think the Chargers do get it done. But the big question for me right now is Justin Herbert. And I brought it up a couple times. This is the first year, really, obviously from last year, that he has to deal with crowd noise. And obviously this is a home game, but it's not. They're going to have to run the silent count at some point in the game, maybe not early, but late pivotal points on third downs. He will have to run the silent count. How does that affect him? The over-under, for me, I agree with you. I think the only way Pittsburgh wins, they're going to put some points up. So I do like the over here. And I do think, with Ben Roethlisberger, Pittsburgh covers 5. Without, the Chargers don't. I know that's kind of a cop-out, but it is what it is. It's going to be very difficult. And I will say this. One big factor here is the fact that it's Sunday Night Football. That's an extra 8 hours to get a diagnosis in, 12 hours to get a negative test in. I'm not sure how that works, but that's 6-7 hours later than the normally scheduled game, or at least since it's in LA, at least 4 or 5 hours later than the normally scheduled game. So something to keep in mind there for Roethlisberger coming back. But the final game that we'll be breaking down is the Monday Night Football game for Week 11. It is the New York Giants, who I'm still figuring out why this team is on prime time. It seems like every other week. But anyways, the New York Giants at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Currently, the Buccaneers are 11-point favorites, and the over-under here is 49.5. Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors for the Giants at Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Tampa Bay last week. I mean, that was another real surprise. However, they're on Monday Night Football. They rebound well. They haven't lost yet at home this year. They're going up against the Giants. Now, why do I like the Giants? I'm not giving a prediction yet, but I'm just saying, when I watch the Giants and they hit so quick and so hard, they run a fast offense and it's effective. But in the last few weeks, they haven't played the Tampa Bay defense, and that's going to be the difference, and that's where they're going to get shut down this week. So I like the over-under, though, is 11. I don't know about 11, 10 maybe, but I don't know about 11. So I might take the Giants plus 11.5. The over-under at 49.5. I'll go over 49 on that one. I think it is going to be a good game. There's going to be some offense, but Tampa Bay is just going to be ready to go. They need to right the ship. And, they don't want to be the team. They aren't the type of team. Mentality is not that, well, we'll wait and see if these guys lose on the right of us and on the left of us. And maybe if all these other things happen, we'll still be a top. No, they take care of their own business. And that's what's going to happen on Monday night.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tampa Bay wins this game 11. That's a lot, but it's the poking of the bear, right? We saw Washington last week kind of embarrass the Buccaneers. Well, guess what? Tom Brady's probably been working 20 hours instead of the usual 18 there at the facility to make sure that he's ready and doesn't want to lose 2 in a row. And I do believe that the Cam Newton situation got the Buccaneers' attention. Now, obviously, what's done last week is done. They can't go back and maybe take the football team a little more seriously. But they can now look and go, Carolina, they might win some games in a row and put some pressure on us. They still have to deal with the Saints. But in this situation, Tampa Bay wins this game. I just don't know if they win by 11. I'm with you. I think this is going to be a much closer game than I think some expect. The over under here, I'm going to say under, though. I feel like if this game ends up going over, then I think Tampa Bay covers, if that makes sense, because I just think Tampa Bay's really, their offensive abilities kind of wear out the other offense. You're not on the field as much. Seems like every time you step on the field, when you play Tom Brady, sometimes after that first drive, they go right down the field. They just feel like you put so much pressure on that offense because they know, we might have to score 35 points today. Just from the get-go, 10 minutes left in the first quarter, and they already have this burden of pressure that we have to score every possession. We might see that on Monday night. And at home, it's going to be tough. But like I said, I think 11, I think the Giants stay underneath that, but I do like the over here, or I'm sorry, the under here, to just maybe try and make it more of a grinded out type of football game if the Giants do keep it under that number. So that is all we have for week number 11. All of those picks hopefully going to be a little better than last week. But I will say, it seems to be every year in the NFL. Once again, it's very, very difficult to get a pulse of the league. When you see Baltimore losing one week, Jacksonville beating Buffalo the next week, it's just very difficult. But we're here for you. But Raider Jim, what are your final thoughts for another edition here of the NFL Weekly?
Well, I'm hoping that everything just straightens out and things get back to normal, because trying to track the upsets is a real head scratcher, and I don't need anything else to put undue stress on me at this time. But looking forward to another great weekend, and as we kick off the Thanksgiving week, should be a good one. Yeah,
we're gonna have 3 games next week to break down on Thursday. Going to be a lot of fun as we get ready for the Turkey Day festivities. But, on that, kind of breath, it is the holidays, a moment to just kind of be thankful for whatever you got. There are a lot of people in this world that do not have a whole lot. Especially around this time of year, we always talk about, I think last week was, it was the day before Veterans Day, and the holidays are always, I'm sure, a very tough time for a lot of the veterans, their families, their loved ones, for the ones that didn't make it home, and for the ones that are fighting abroad, and things like that. So just keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and really everyone, around the holiday season. That's really a very merry time for a lot of people, but it is also a very, very difficult time for equal amount of people. So keep that in mind as we go about it. But that's all we got for you today here on the NFL Weekly, presented by the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Everyone comes off the bench, but we are first. It is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you all very soon. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.
Peace out.